Hello, everyone. Welcome to Top Agent Nation Wednesday's commercials. We're just going to give everyone a little more time to drop on in. This is definitely a program you don't want to miss, as everyone knows about technology, uses technology, but has everyone, right, not just heard of AI, but really using AI efficiently and automating their life and their brokerage business using AI to simplify, to give you more time, whether it's more work-life balance, which we all know that that's not a thing, right? But at least it gives you more time to spend the way you want to spend it, to prioritize. It is just truly amazing, as many of us, I would say in my generation, grew up as the personal computer started coming up and being widely available kind of in the 70s and 80s. And as things started changing with the internet, as we said, what is this thing that people are starting to put together? And believe it or not, I remember when people used to put internets together and got all the shares, and some people exited quite well, even though the company went under, by building a website in the 90s for different businesses. So truly amazing and exciting to watch how technology has grown, expanded, watching the .com bust, to always reinventing themselves and building these real estate businesses, technology businesses, but just the way our lives changed with the mobile phone changing. I know, I think, Jeff, you, Duke, probably remember the bricks that you had to carry to your head. I don't know if either one of you microwaved your head, but...
James, I'm not that old, dude. Don't be aging me there. Jeff for sure. Me,
yeah,
it's amazing.
All right.
I had that 25 pound mobile phone for sure.
You know, and it's just the changes of hardware, but now software, and the big one that everyone's talking about, we know with EXP, the metaverse was a thing, using Zoom to communicate. Now a lot of remote working, to the point where we have AI, and how is AI and automation and using it for trends. I mean, we have three of our four actually experts that are on the panel going to share a lot of what they've learned, they've done, they've seen, and kind of do a little predictive, like what AI is supposed to do with enough data, kind of give us where the future will be. So I'd first like to start with Duke. I see you first. Duke, if you don't mind kind of sharing, how the heck did you kind of get into all of this?
All right, I won't take a lot of time. And James, thank you for inviting me, and appreciate all the stuff that you do in the business. I'm a longtime broker, owner, developer. I started my own company in around 2000, I think, which I was 10 when I started, James. So around 2008, 2009, we all remember the recession and what happened. And I kind of got interested in the tech, I think only because of where I sit from an age standpoint. I had the guys in front of me and the guys behind me, and I kind of understood it better to a certain extent. So I kind of got going that way. And with the wave of companies that came along, like VTS and CompStack and some of the others, I was literally there before they even existed. And I just kind of grew to like it. And part of the reason that I grew to like it is because I came up from a practitioner standpoint. Jeff, this will age me. I used to use the 3.5 disc for my CRM, right? I was tech edgy back in those days, buddy. So being a broker owner developer still, right now I'm the EIR for Second Century Ventures. It's one of the largest prop tech, and I should have patented that, venture funds in the world. We have 258 companies. We're in Latin America, Canada, Israel, UK, and we do residential and commercial here in the United States, and I'm the EIR for commercial. So what we do is we go and look at, let's say, 7 or 8 companies a year, and we go out and invest in them and bring them into our little program and try to help them scale and grow up. So one of the things, other than the last 6 years, since maybe 2008, the reason they wanted me is that I see the things and I understand, in my opinion, how they're practical, how they actually get used, how people that are brokers use them, how their owners use them, how their tenants use them. So within Second Century Ventures, I think that, and again, I've seen just about everything. Having said that, some of the AI stuff and stuff that's coming along is interesting. So I'm very interested to see what some of the opinions are that people are on this thing. So thank you, James.
Thank you, Duke. Jeff, long, illustrious career, especially in commercial real estate. If you want to share the journey, the story, you know, I know maybe it starts with your dad, and then how the heck did you get into tech?
No, we'll do this in a few minutes because it could take the entire time. It is a great story, great history that I'm proud of. I was a founding partner with my dad at NAI Global back in 1980. So date you by a little bit, Duke, and got to see the industry transform quite a bit. But NAI, was born as a network of brokerage firms, and we needed to really figure out how to tie it all together. How do you take 100, now 200 firms over time and give them a common language, a common platform, a common system? And to build a brand and a service delivery platform, we needed to build control and consistency. And we sort of coined and came up with the idea of the managed network. And to take a group of independent firms and build management infrastructure to enable them to provide global services was sort of a key differentiator for us. And we did that largely through technology and sharing best practices and systems. But very early in our growth, we embedded a platform called RealTrack in NAI. We looked around and saw that there was nothing in the industry that could provide a technology backbone to enable us. And we also had heard that a commercial real estate industry didn't want to adopt technology, but we knew it had to. So we invested heavily in it and built this infrastructure, which enabled us to win clients like Pepsi, Hertz, International Paper, big institutional and corporate clients. And all of a sudden we realized that the industry didn't like to adopt technology that didn't help them, but when it saw that it could help them make money, they loved it. So they saw this technology that we built and realized that, hey, we could take this technology and use it to enhance our service to clients and not just execute more efficiently, but win business more effectively. They came to it. And you talk about how do you herd cats? That's how you herd cats. Give them tools that brings them together and gives them something that they can use to make money. So I got involved in technology very early. We invested in it and realized that we had something unique. But in 2012, I left NAI and was able to broaden the horizon and scope and focus, and saw that while we had this at NAI, the industry didn't have what I would call a holistic system or an end-to-end solution. There were hundreds of different silos, and Duke talked about 250 companies in their portfolio, or there are thousands of companies out there that do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But we saw the need for the industry to have something that they could start and run their entire life cycle and process. So I got together with a few partners, Mark Kingston, who had been the CEO at Argus Software, and he had sold his company about the same time we sold NAI. We got together with others and formed RealNext with this vision to create an end-to-end solution for commercial real estate. We acquired a few companies and have spent the past decade bringing that together to create a seamless end-to-end enterprise solution for finding, winning, and executing transactions, and providing visualization technology to enable the enhanced asset management, marketing, and service delivery. So a lot more to talk about, but that's sort of my arc and journey to where we are today.
And also, with the information, please reach out to Duke, Jeff, and all the panelists and speakers, because there's a wealth of knowledge. They're on LinkedIn. So definitely look their names up, reach out to them, connect. Very powerful, great stuff. I love to talk about Michael. Michael, I loved your course yesterday that you were teaching. And, how did you kind of get into this business? And then, congratulations being the chair of technology for CCIM. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I don't know if it's congratulations or sorry, but yes, thank you for having me on again, James. I really appreciate it. And it's hard to actually pinpoint one time where it was like I got into technology. I started 20 years ago in private equity, and for whatever reason, every place that I went, I was sort of in charge of this onboarding of technology or putting operations together. Then I left private equity. I was a broker for 10 years, and I was head of the team to get the leads and automate a lot of things. And so I guess it just happened naturally that I got more and more involved. Now I'm the principal of a company called Duck Ridge Realty Advisors, and we do private portfolio and asset management. We essentially help people that don't want to operate their portfolios anymore, or, you know, so there was a death in the family, or there was some succession plan to the kids and they don't want to operate the portfolio. So that's how we help. And so I'm a one-man band, and it was one of those things where I have to learn how to automate. The more I automate, the more efficient I am, the more I can take on. And so it's almost out of necessity that I learn these things. And AI came along about a year and a half ago, and it completely changed the whole dynamic of what we do, how we do it. I've been using a lot of technology. I've used a lot of CRMs. I've used RealNext, which is a fantastic product. And you know, I'm almost become like a technology junkie now. I always like to try new things. I tried new technology last night. Even after our class, I was looking at some cool stuff online, new companies that are coming out. You know, this artificial intelligence thing, the only thing I can relate it to is, you know, I'm old enough to remember when the internet was coming out, right? And there was this sense of, okay, well, the internet, what is it? What does it do? There was a lot of people, if you go back and you watch some of the morning show interviews and some of the interviews with Bill Gates, and they're trying to figure out, well, what is this internet thing? Is it going to last? And, you know, lo and behold, it completely changed how we interact with each other, how we gain knowledge, information. And I think AI is along the same trajectory. It completely is going to change how we interact with each other, how we gain knowledge, how we search for the knowledge. I was showing you a tool yesterday called Perplexity that is completely changing how we search for things. And so I'm excited. I'm really excited about this next iteration of technology that's coming through, and excited to be on, maybe share a little bit of wisdom that I have. I'm not a professional by any means, but share a little bit of the knowledge that I have along with the group, and hopefully learn some things from everyone here. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for being on again, and very excited. One other thing is, so I learned about all this automation, thinking about this, you know, obviously it was on top of everyone's mind, hearing AI, hearing the metaverse, all of this stuff, using ChatGPT, trying to get used to it. But a good friend, Jason Keyz, Jason and I go way back. And when he said he showed me, he automated his kids' play dates, I'm like, what the heck? You take automation to another level, you know? So Jason, if you don't mind sharing your career, and why the heck did you kind of automate everything in your life?
Well, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, you last for last, so thank you. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so, but, you know, the thing is, like, started off right. So first of all, Duke said he's 30. My daughter, she's 5. She always asks, Daddy, how old are you? Because she's just starting to understand numbers, you know, for the last year. And I said, I'm 27, and I'm forever 27, right? So I'm not even going to tell you how I am. But you know, full circle, you know, technology, like everybody's mentioned, it's almost like a necessity right now, you know, and out of the necessity to automate things is one. I live in California, so you know the cost of labor and hiring good people is always high, and having things. Remember, the crazy thing about AI and technology is robots don't sleep. You know, the software doesn't turn off, right? You know, and I have an amazing team, but it's I call it a blend of old school and new school. Is that, you know, when you automate things, you know, unless an automation breaks or something, right? A connection breaks. So I'm a single dad with a 5-year-old, and I run a group of companies. So the need to automate is there, you know, that way, you know, things happen. So, and, you know, like the mention about like the RealNext CRM, for example, I've probably one of the only tools I haven't tested yet, but from build out to Anthem IQ to being a CoStar subscriber to all the CRE tech products, I've looked at it, I've touched it, I've advised at some level on with some of these companies, and they're all broken in the sense that there's no end-to-end connection. Like everybody, especially CoStar, let's not even go there, right? They're locked into their ecosystem, and God bless them, they have the power to do it just because they're so big, right? You know, but you know, if we're using a tool that's, you know, either like a CRM or something that's managing our listings, the ability to take data from CoStar and just have a one-to-one connection doesn't exist, right? We use tools like Zapier, we call it Zapier, some people call it different things. I have DocuSign integrated. I run my global team on Slack. So the minute somebody executes an LOI or a contract, I get a notification on a dedicated alert channel on Slack that triggers a workflow that goes into different things. So I'm a big tech guy, and like some people have mentioned already on the panel, we've tested it all, we've tried it all, and just making it work. And even down to my daughter's play date. So you laughed about, right? Because you have a 6-year-old, I have an almost 6-year-old. And I make friends everywhere I go. I run into people. I'm like, hey, the kids get along. I'm like, we should, do play dates together. And then when it comes down to it, it's like where it's a Saturday afternoon, we're going to go to the trampoline park or go to Knott's Berry Farm or do whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to sit and scroll and find everybody's number and say, hey, this. So I think about it, I'm like, hey, we're going to go to SeaWorld tomorrow morning. I log in to custom CRM, a tool that I built, and I go in and choose a template. And it's it's an amusement park template. Enter the word SeaWorld, enter the date and time, and I pick Jordan's play date distribution list. And from a dedicated local phone number, it sends a message out. And if somebody calls that number back, it goes to my support team, and they answer it. So like it's there, man. Like we have the ability with current technology to build all this. So yeah, as far as career, I'll give it the 30 seconds, man. I've been running family businesses since I was a kid. My dad left when I was 11. So like I helped my mom run the businesses. When I was 18, I moved back to California, which is where I was born after living internationally for a few years. I've been on the technical side in MEP, construction, code consulting, and security and fire protection was my discipline when I did that. I still own and operate an alarm company, but I have a group of companies. Everything's at keyz.com, KEYZ.com. And commercial real estate brokers, primary focus, and then capital advisory, helping people get loans, SBA, construction, bridge, and blending those together. So yeah.
Thank you, Jason. So I mean, this is everyone, this is my secret sauce when it comes to technology, my go-to. So everyone, like I said, reach out to them on LinkedIn. We're going to have some fun now. So let's start going in. Should we really be afraid of technology? What can we do to be prepared for technology? Michael, I would start with you because you trained the course yesterday. Still, there's time for everyone to jump on. We just started. Should we be afraid? And what should we do for the agents, people trying to come into commercial real estate? I mean, very broad, but it's going to impact our life from what everyone's saying.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And unfortunately, I think we're getting into a point where if you're not using this technology, you're probably falling behind. So I would be fearful of that. But really, what are we afraid of? We're afraid of the unknown is really what we're afraid of. And so if you're not necessarily used to working with technology, it just makes sense to start with baby steps. Some of these great tools like RealNex and some of the others are great because they're very intuitive and they help you. So I would look for, software that maybe is a little more intuitive, that's going to help you up your game. But, over time, I think you're going to have to probably take some classes on, CRM systems, take some class. There's so many great free resources out there. There's one that I was using called Brilliant. And it basically, I was taking it on statistics and some large language model stuff. And, it's just a free resource. You can go on, they've got cool videos and so forth. And so I would just, think about that, because I think the more you demystify the technology and what's happening, I think the more confident you're going to feel, the better you're going to feel about maybe venturing out of your comfort zone and maybe taking on some other things like, AI automations and so forth. It's just, you have to do it, because I feel like if you don't, if you're about to retire in the next year or two, maybe, don't worry about it. But if you're going to be around for a little while, I think it really, it pays to educate yourself and try to figure out how these things can help you 10x your business, to be more efficient, spend more time actually looking for deals, closing deals, talking with people, because that's really what our business is about, right? It's about relationships, and you can't automate relationships, but you can automate all the other things so that you can work on your relationships. And so that's my soapbox to you.
Thank you, Mike. And Jeff, I know with you, with your long illustrious career, and a lot of people I know when I was at EXP trying to get people, Jim, I'm at this age, I still use my Philo, you know, the Rolodex, the old school ways. Jeff, with watching the changes from what you've seen when you started, because technology was not even there really, to now where you're going, what are you seeing the changes? Let's say, as Michael brought up, if you're retiring in 5 years or 10 years, should they still kind of start using it, or should they be afraid, you know, of the technology?
Well, I think no one should be afraid of it. That's the first thing. You can't really break it. You can try again, just keep trying it until you figure out how you make it work for you. So you might do some things and you might have some false starts, but and you may have had false starts in the past. This is the big thing that we find a lot of people don't do technology now because they tried it in the past and didn't have success with it. Well, it's come a long way. It's a whole different world of technology enablement for the commercial real estate industry. And I think Michael's point was right on. It really depends. It's not just where you are in your career from an age standpoint. It's what are your aspirations and what do you want to do? If you want to be a top producer, if you want to be a market expert, if you want to be the go-to authority in your market, you cannot do it without technology. You cannot be smart enough. No, none of the people that you do business with, put it that way, none of the doctors or lawyers or other people that you're going to go to for when you really have a problem are the second best or the third or the guy that is doing it old school way. You're going to someone because they're the best at it. And in a market like today, when the business is scarce, the people that are the market authorities are the ones that are capturing all the market share. So the people that don't have the tools, that don't have the systems, that can't talk to their clients authoritatively, that can't do financial analysis, can't do modeling, can't help with decision support for their clients to help to determine what they want to buy, what they want to sell, what they want to hold, how they need to restructure their capital stack, all the things that they need to do in today's market aren't going to do it based on somebody's guess. They're going to do it based on someone's data. And when you have real data, when you have real comps, it's not just any comp, because everyone has some sort of that same commodity of information, but what do you know different about that trade than somebody else? Why did that happen? Why was the price per square foot this versus that? What's unique about that property? You can't keep it all in your head, but if you have a database that can hold it, so when you need it, it's there for you, you can become that authority. So if you want to be a top producer, if you want to up your game, whether it's 1x, 3x, 5x, 10x, as Mike, you talk about, you can do that if you build the systems and tools. And what we found is you can't do it overnight. You have to take steps. And what will happen is over time, you have the biggest asset in the palm of your hand, and it's your ability to manipulate that with your brain. So there's a lot of information in your phone or online that you can access, but it's how do you become the advisor by knowing what that means, and how do you talk to your client about that, and how does that impact them in their current situation, and what you see from a forecast standpoint of what's going to happen down the road. So what do you do with data, with information, and how do you assemble massive amounts of it and organize it in a way that you can make and advise more effectively? So I would say anybody that wants to be not just do it for a few years, but if you want to be a top producer for those few years, you need to jump in and take advantage of the tools that are out there.
Thank you, Jeff. And Jason, as you were kind of like still in the trenches with, being a single dad, being efficient, have you always been in technology to help your business? Or when did you kind of say, I need to automate, I need to use tech, I need to stay on top of tech, which is the scariest thing. Now that tech is everywhere, I don't know what to use half the time. So Jason, Could you kind of share your journey when you started saying, I got to start using tech and automating everything as a producer?
I think honestly, when I was 15, I was living internationally, and I was in India at that time after a little bit of time in Hong Kong too. And then I was 15, cellulars and pagers first came to India. And so like I got interested in it, and I started a distribution of cellulars and pagers at that age where I couldn't even afford one. I mean, that's when you had to pay per minute and everything. And so I remember having even, a 4-line alphanumeric pager. So I'm already dating myself. So Duke already knows I'm not 27. So, I carried that, and having workflows for everything almost became a natural thing, like, you know. And so I remember automating technology as early as having earlier Android phones or Windows Mobile too. But like when, you know, iPhone still doesn't let you do it as far as scheduling messages. One of my Android phone, I carry a couple of each. Crazy. You've sat down with me for lunch. You're like, how many phones do you have, right? So, and so you can schedule messages. So, I mean, you can even go out and schedule happy birthday messages through that. Of course, nowadays we have, you know, A2DP, we're doing text messaging through CRM software and everything. So you can automate that workflow beyond that. But I'm talking like going back like, you know, 15, 18, 20 years already to do that. And I feel like that just a need for technology exists, you know, like even in my kitchen, like I'll give you an example completely off the wall, but I have a built-in oven, which is a modern one, KitchenAid, and it's Wi-Fi enabled. But I have a Tovala smart oven and I have a June smart oven. So Jordy, I pick her up from school. I got to get on a call at 3 for like 10-minute call. And she's like, I'm like, are you hungry? She's like, yeah, I want some nuggets or I want this. I'm like, from my phone in the Tesla, the oven's preheating and it's got a camera in it. So it knows that there's no food left behind that's going to catch on fire. And I own an alarm company too. So there's carbon monoxide sensors, there's smoke sensors. They're all connected through apps that, you know, so the point is you can, with technology, you can, you know, protect things, you can automate things. And then like, you know, just mentioned a minute ago by Jeff, is like, if you want to be a producer, right, you have to get rid of the crap, right? You know, the stuff. Like I haven't logged into DocuSign in 4 years. And I'll tell you, if I even go to our alerts channel on Slack, we're executing DocuSigns every day, multiple times a day sometimes. But I haven't logged in because through either automation and or my team, they do the forms. I review them, of course, you know, but yeah. And even that shit, we can talk about AI reviewing tax returns and bank statements and, you know, capturing data. So the sky's the limit. And I think to answer your question though, like I've always been in it, but the acceleration is there now. Like everything I look at is tech, and my staff probably hates me because I have a channel even on Slack called Special Projects, and every day on that channel it's like, hey, new tool, new software, let's test this, and they're like, ah. So, but I live it, so yeah.
And Duke, I mean, you see all this tech transpiring, building, pitching you for Second Century Venture, NAR Reach, you know, all of this. I mean, what do you see? Because before it was, okay, there was only a couple of technology. It was easy. So much technology and so many different verticals, so many things overlapping. How do you put it all together? How do you figure this all out?
All right, well, let me start with, obviously I agree with everybody on this panel, but one thing that I do want to say, I don't think that, and as Jeff mentioned, you don't need to fear some of the stuff that's out there, because we just did 38 one-hour interviews in the last 2.5 weeks with companies. So we try to look and find everything, right? And I'll get into AI in a second. Some of the things, absolutely, that Jason's talking about, all the automation, it's a process, right? You're shrinking the process, you're shrinking time, however you want to do that, right? I do think, though, that even in the commercial real estate on the tech side, it's still just very practical process software, okay? A CRM. You'd be amazed how many people do not have a CRM, and I can't even believe that, right? And I've said this on the stage before. If you have a cell phone and a yellow pad, you can still do business. And people are like, oh, yeah, that's how I do it. Okay, that's how they did it, okay, because they could. To the point, I think where we are right now, is it going to be accelerated beyond where we're at? I think we have dips and roads of, for a while, it was everything was blockchain. It's going to change the world. And I used to call that magic internet beans because it was BS. Okay, now we have certain things, but it's almost like quantum computing, the processing of, let me use a really quick, simple example. Right now, we have some companies that are doing on the resi side, where if someone calls them about an appointment, they'll have a bot or whatever you want to call it that automatically responds to them. Whatever they say, there's almost like a template of things that they respond to help them set up an appointment. Now, you think that's pretty basic, right? Nobody that I know of is doing that very much in commercial. Certainly there are some. Also, from a tech standpoint, it's not like you wave a wand and push a button and it automatically does this stuff. It's a little bit harder than you think. So part of, from a technology standpoint, it's the owners that are probably have the ability to pay for it more. your owners and your tenants and things like that. On the broker side, and Jeff could go on for hours about this, brokers don't want to pay, they say. Brokers don't want to do X, they say they don't. And I think that's BS too, a little bit, because we certainly can and will. What are the tools that are effective? And I'm getting to your point here, Jeff. So it's a basic CRM at the very least, right? And some of the automation of what? So you can go out and find 15 different things. To Jeff's point, what is connecting you to your data? What are you doing with that data? And Jeff already said this. And then how are you helping you and your clients make decisions with it? It's just that simple. All the different companies that we look at, they're looking at so many different processes that they're trying to shrink. And let me get to the AI one real quick. We've got a company that I know we're going to invest in, and they're doing lease abstraction. Okay, lease data is gold. Okay, it's gold. And you're like, how are you doing X? First of all, it's just not like they're reading through. And if they say they are, they're lying, in my opinion, because we look at everything. But what data out of that lease do you really want? And where do you aggregate that data? And then how do you make it actionable? This company's been working on this and working on this. They're in their 6th year. And the CEO admitted to us, we're just now starting to get there. He said, it's great, all of these things coming out. He feels like there's going to be a lot of other companies that can do what he's doing. So he's trying to get a moat. And the stuff that he's selling it to Nuveen and all these other monster companies because they want their leases and data extracted. So again, the processes are getting shrunk. Go find some tools that help shrink that process. And I love what Jason said about automation of his kid. That's it. Do that. Only do that for your business, right? It's just that simple. So from what we've seen as much as possible, the other thing I want to get in real quick, it's hard for us to find broker related tools. There aren't that many out there. There aren't that many that work, and there aren't that many that are changing things too much. So I certainly hope that it will be down the road. That's why when you talk to someone like Jason or Mike, they're using Slack, they're using all these different types of things. And Zapier, I literally wrote, why don't we have Zapier for commercial real estate, right? And people like, I have no idea what Zapier even is. So go out and seek out some of these tools and think about how you can automate that process. All you're doing is shrinking time. That's how
Really?
I look at it.
I love that, Duke. Jimmy, jumping in real quick. So
Please.
the one thing that I just want to point out, so because we got on this call and we throw out AI and technology and automation, right? Like big buzzwords, right? Like, but the thing really comes down to it, and Duke kind of used the word, is process, right? It's everything is process mapping. I mentioned my kitchen earlier for a second, right? I just moved into a new place 6 weeks ago, right? And had some help, right? Because we can't do everything. And some people that were helping me were like starting to put stuff in the cabinets, lots of cabinets in this big kitchen, right? And I'm like, no, wait. Salt and pepper right here on this side of the stove, spatulas and things on this side of the stove, right? And then the plates are here, and then this, and if you go and watch a movie thing is called The Founder, the McDonald's one, right? You'll actually see this in action. I broker a lot of restaurants, and as part of our retail side of our brokerage, and a good restaurant, you don't go and grab the burgers from here and then walk 14 steps to get the ketchup and then walk back and forth to get the buns. So that's an example of like if things flow. Like I make breakfast for scratch for Jordy in the morning every morning, not a bowl of cereal in a cardboard box, right? And I'm able to do that in 10 minutes because everything is right where it's supposed to be and everything flows. So like Duke mentioned, if you get your processes down, like, oh, I need to get this document, then I need to scan it, then I need to log in here, then I need to enter the data here, here, and here. Putting single entry of data, that's my big thing in the industry. We don't have it in commercial real estate tech, because all the products are disjointed. They don't really connect. But yeah, if you get your processes down, then you can pick and choose, how do I streamline this process? How do I eliminate that step? And how do I get there?
Well, Jason, we got to get on a call to show you real next, because that's exactly the problem. We've tried to solve it. There's more, of course, but it is entering information once, in your point, or ingesting it, not entering it. It's how do you get it there? A lot of it's ingesting. So we've done a lot of work on the importing of data from anywhere.
Yeah.
And then make it flow through to do your analysis, to do your marketing, to do your visualization and from all of your documentation and run the sales process. So love to talk to you after this. So sorry, Jim, but I want to make sure that we're trying to solve for it, at least they're going in that direction, because we saw that as the big problem. You're exactly right. It was just too much work. It's taking too much time, redundancy, prone to error, and it's inefficient.
Yeah, single point of entry, data entry, is a problem in any industry, not just in, in commercial real estate, of course. But yeah, agree. Yeah, let's get on.
And that's the thing where you used to have a person move the paper, send it through an internet, send a file, data entry, right? That was a thing. They read plugging in numbers, make a mistake, figuring out, right? Different codings, different ways of finding it. So before I open up to kind of let some of the audience kind of listen and ask some questions. So hopefully you have some good questions. In a simple process system, and I'm not going to put anyone on the spot to name their favorite CRM or favorite system like Slack or different services or Zapier, right? How would you build a basic flow chart? And Jason, I'll give you this one first before we open up. How would you do maybe 3 to 5 tools to streamline this process for everyone? You could just say CRM, this hub, or whatever it is, or you could say, the name of something you can use.
Right. And Jimmy, I hate to not answer the question directly, but the truth is, like, well, coming back to literally what everybody said on the panel and Duke's introduction into this conversation of the word of the process, right? It's really about your process. Are you a one-man show, or are you with EXP Commercial, where you already get a stack of tools that, many years ago when I was with KW Commercial, I was on their CLC, their Commercial Leadership Council, like, call it the top 30, whatever, but it was basically handpicked people that help choose the technology. EXP Commercial, I'm sure, including yourself, has had these people who make these decisions. Well, test a couple of different CRMs. This is what we're going to deploy. So if you're with a bigger brokerage or a small brokerage or any brokerage, you're going to adopt the tech stack that they've got in place. And when we use the word tech stack, everybody here is familiar with it, but it's just the different tools that you use and stack them together to do whatever you do. And in this case, probably talking to agents and brokers mostly on this call. But I think it's really just coming down to, what is your process, right? Are you a yellow notepad and a cell phone guy? Well, your first step is definitely a CRM. Now, there are industry agnostic CRMs, so, because but then here, I've tested a lot of them, implemented and modified. You don't have a field for property data and owner data and property manager data, whereas something like RealNext or other CRE tools probably have those already mapped. So if you don't want to build from scratch, try and find something specific to the industry. But coming back to it, is like, what do you find yourself doing? If I tracked my time today and I said, I spent 10 minutes on this, 1 hour on this, 40 minutes on this, jot down the processes, what you're spending your time, and then, either go seek the tools, look online, ask a friend, call one of us on the panel, and find tools to replace those steps. That's really the overview I can give, because otherwise we'll start naming products as an endless list of them, right? So yeah.
Thank you, Jason. I'll go to Michael. Michael, since you teach so many CCIMers teaching a class right now, what do you see, let's say process-wise, if you can name tools or steps, like you need Calendly or you need this, something, right? And that's kind of what I'm building. So I'm learning while I'm building right now. Michael?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of along the lines of Jason. I'm not sure there's a one size fits all when it comes to, automating these things. My processes as a portfolio manager are different than a broker, who's different than a developer, who's different than, I know most of the people on here are brokers, but everybody has different processes, how they utilize information, how they store information. And like Jason said, depending on what brokerage you're with, they also have internal tools that you sort of have to navigate as well. I remember I was at Kidder Matthews for 10 years and they had their own internal, market analysis. And so you kind of had to navigate around that a little bit. So it really doesn't have a one size fits all. I would say the one thing that, you maybe want to try to work with or dabble with is, the Chat GPTs or the Google Gemini or, Anthropic Claude. Just because those things can help you regardless of whether, you have some other automations. They can really help you with, a number of things, either writing emails, blog posts, social media. And they can help you with, lease abstraction, or they can help you with, just a variety of different ways that you can interact with your your clients. And then you can sort of take that next step. Okay. And exactly what Jason was saying, you know, how can I take away the tedious tasks of the day and automate those? Because I think that's when you start to understand, okay, well, these are the things, you know, I would say sit down, literally write out, what do I spend, you know, my time blocks on, and see, you know, is there a technological solution to one or several of those so that you can free up your time? Once again, it's a relationship business. You should be out there shaking hands, kissing babies, you know, if you want to make money in this field. So yeah, just think through your processes, think through the things that are time sucks for you, and just, you know, like you said, ask one of us, or just do a search and find out if there's a solution for that. Chances are at this point there probably is a solution for that. So
Thank you, Michael. Jeff, as you're trying to, with RealNext, put the whole system together, hearing all of this, I know that's what you're building. What's your kind of take for RealNext and maybe outside, you know, with this
Yep.
one-step process?
A couple of things. I think that it's been said a little bit differently, but and I think it ties a few of the pieces together, is in adopting and implementing technology, you don't want to have to necessarily reinvent how you do things to do things the way the technology tells you to do it. So you want to figure out, how do you automate? Well, first of all, maybe you want to study your process and make sure it's an efficient process, like Jason talked about. Make sure your things aren't all over the place and you're not living in chaos. If you're chaotic, then maybe it's time to reinvent it. But if you have a good process that's been working to an extent and you've been doing well with it and you want to take it to the next level, look at how do you then use the technology to accelerate that, automate that, and make it more scalable? How do you go from 5 transactions to 10 to 25 to 50? And you can do that by compressing time, finding information, matching buyers and sellers more efficiently, because you know exactly who's going to sell and who's the best buyer, matching the best tenant in the best space because you have everything profiled. So you can't necessarily make those matches as fast in your head. And you have to talk to 100 people to make that happen versus talking to the 5 people that are really the right prospects for it. So I think that that's the first piece, is it sort of automating your workflow, making the technology work for you rather than you work for the technology. And a lot of people struggle with it because it's changing their habits, it's changing behavior. And structurally, that's the biggest challenge I've found in the industry, is people say, you know what, I wake up Monday morning and the phone rings and, you know, email comes in and, you know, somebody walks in my office and I'm done. I can never get to change my routine and build the habits that I need to have a tool that becomes a machine. But if you do it right and you take the time and you dedicate your time and prioritize it, then you have basically you're running a business. And you're not just making deals. And I think that's the transformation that you can get to by building a process. And a business is a process. Deals are not necessarily a process. Deals happen, and you put deals together, and sometimes by luck or good fortune or the market, rather than you doing all the things you can and then doing as many of them as you can because you have things lined up to be as productive as you can. So I sort of would wrap that up with, as a thought process and a way to begin to organize. We use a tool called Mind Manager, where you create a mind map, which really helps to build a workflow and to organize thoughts and processes and look at things like Jason was talking about. You know, here's where you have everything, for example, and why do you have this over here and that over here, where all you have to do is drag it and drop it here. Okay, now that's how I'm going to do it. So by organizing things, then you begin to, you know, to change your workflow and know that you're going to control your time, your day, and your business in a way that's much more efficient and productive.
Thank you, Jeff. And Duke, like kind of closing before we open up for questions. What do you think? Because, you know, as now technology has accelerated, right? It's the new gold mine, the new place for everyone to try to create wealth, but not everyone plays nice. There's going to be a lot of consolidation, as we see, right? When they expand, it contracts and consolidates, especially in this market. And new problems are being solved, as we all know what's going on in NAR, new pathways, right? Through difficulties, new things are going to be solved. So kind of big picture, what are you seeing, you know, with all this tech as you know, go over 250, 400 different tech companies all the time?
So I'll make it really quick. The most robust thing that I see is in multifamily, because you got B2B and B2C. They're solving so many other different problems that I think is going to be more relatable. Having said, what I think is going to happen is the process is again going to be a little bit quicker. We're still not solving problems that needed to be solved 10 years ago, in my opinion, right? There's still processes that are still just the same. Is AI going to accelerate that? Probably. I mean, that's just kind of a difficult question, because I always get asked, what's the next biggest thing? And I say nothing. Nothing. There's kind of not, which is all the tech companies get upset with me because, hey, you're supposed to be pushing our stuff out there. And I'm like, then go solve some better problems. The biggest thing that I will say that I see, and I joke about this, is the integration of everybody thinks they're their own silo, right? And that's fine. And we know who the big silo is. And if there were more integrations, it would be so much more efficient and a better, in my opinion, marketplace for brokers and commercial, right? But we have people that just say no, and they say, why is that? Egos, money, and I got 3 or 4 things that I won't say on here. So
Say
if
amen to that.
if some people, if they would open it up a little bit more and really try to serve the broker as their customer, this marketplace would be incredibly efficient. Think about the stock market and how that really works, right? And that's just processes. And I realize we're different. So I mean, it's just a hard thing to answer, James. There's no magical big thing coming, right? In my opinion, AI could be automating those things a lot better and quicker. That's great. So if there was something, I would definitely be on it. The reason I'm sitting here, and thank you for bringing it up, Jason, is DocuSign, because we invested in DocuSign way back in the day, and they went IPO, and we've been riding that thing for years. So that's still DocuSign. Think about how long it took just to get there, right? So I'm not sure I'm helping, but I'd love to hear some questions.
No, dude, that's okay, but a lot of it, excuse me, it's process systems, but meeting people, right? Connecting like this for everyone that showed up, right? That's part of the battle. Love to open this up to some questions with people that are in the audience right now, because this is such a wealth of knowledge, and especially those building team. Vu?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me join on this. I appreciate it. I'm here from Chattanooga and wanted to ask a question about looking into automating some marketing, especially with social media and using AI for that. I wanted to get some advice from some of you seasoned commercial agents, and maybe some words of advice on being careful about maybe overexposure. I noticed that in the commercial side, there's less in general people using kind of social media and even YouTube and video. Do we have to worry about overexposing ourselves, or is it still widely accepted amongst commercial agents that you're using a lot of social media?
Who wants to take? I'll take that one, because I started, that's like the hashtag CRE back in like 2006 on Twitter. There's 2 sides to it. That's a great question. You absolutely need to get yourself out there and push and do some things. There's two parts of Twitter where you have real people doing real stuff, and you got bots doing not so much. I did video. I did all kinds of things. How do I want to put it? I mean, is it generational where it's okay to have really great YouTube stuff and things about property and this and that and the other? Or are you trying to be a personality? I was on a panel with a gal. She said, I have 1.5 million followers on Instagram. I said, so how many deals has that really got you? Oh, I got some deals. I said, there's a guy sitting over there next to you who's never on Instagram who did $500 million last year. So there's a fine line between, I need to get out there and show everybody my expertise, and the overexposure. So sometimes the exposure, I think, is very positive, but also they just want to know that you're their expert and you can do their stuff. As far as automation, I'll drop the name of Build Out. They do pretty good at it. Good or bad. I've known Build Out since forever. There's some good marketing stuff there. Jeff's company does some really good things. There's even not an association thing. There's people that literally are just influencers that go to a summit. It's called CREI or something like that, summit, that were started by brokers. There's about 200 of them that go to Orlando or whatever. So there's some best practices out there. But since I'm old school and I have socks older than Jason, I would say less is more. That's what I would say.
I would just add to that, Duke, it's have something to say. Don't just make noise. And so if you're going to contribute value, contribute knowledge, contribute something that's of, it's not just to post, but it's to post something that is like what Duke just said, to demonstrate your knowledge. Here's some information, here's a case study, here's something that you've done or helps somebody else.
Oh, I could
Be
go
more
on. There were some guys out in Arizona. They were literally doing live streams from a bathtub, and everybody thought that was really cool. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be naked in a bathtub talking about some industrial flex. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of that professionalism, and it's cool to have a personality. Don't get me wrong, but I want you to be the best commercial real estate broker in Chattanooga. That's who I want to go get, who really knows their stuff and really going to make it happen. You can have a personality, that's fine. But I don't know, there's just so much. Jeff and I could go on for days because we've been around it a little bit.
Yeah, Vu, I'll put a little button on your question. So like, what build out, obviously we use it for marketing, and like, that's another company, for example, that's acquired and built their portfolio of companies and merged none of it integrates with their other tool.
Yeah, don't get me
Don't
started.
get me started on build out. A conversation for a different day. I know Duke and I will have long conversations after this thing here, but I think if your question was, how do you automate or use AI for social media marketing? I'm going to assume maybe that's for like Instagram posts or Facebook, or like, doing just being present. My team and I test, because of our agency, we test a lot of these tools. The AI component is writing content. It's the problem is like some I think Mike mentioned, like Claude and GPT-4o right now and different tools. And until you have a custom trained bot that is speaking your language, speaking CRE tech language, using off-the-shelf AI social media tools, Buffer, this, that, whatever you want, the ones that automate posts and create images for you, like we've tested it. We even tested it last week, and I was so disappointed with the results, because it's like, where, it's just generic marketing. I think it's not there right now where you can get the AI to speak as if it's a commercial broker. You have to have your authentic voice, and especially on platforms like X, aka Twitter. If you're going to go in there and be present, it's going to have to be you speaking. You can outsource or automate maybe somebody to take your property pictures for a new listing, crop them, put some text on them, this, that, right? But there's no real tool that I've tested that will replace you as far as being present on social media if you're going to be. So, yeah.
It's all great advice. Thank you, gentlemen.
Any other questions? But I know, yes, marketing is one of them, organizing. And this is the thing. Any other questions? But I have a question if no one else has one. Question? Automating the follow-up. Everyone knows the engagement, getting them in, great. Marketing, great, but no follow-up. What would everyone do for kind of that drip campaign to follow up until they're ready to buy, and the process and systems to get them to that point? Who wants to open up and start on that one?
I had talked to too many agents over too many years that didn't get a lease renewal. It's mind-boggling. They didn't get an extension because they forgot to call, or worse, somebody else is calling them and doing a better job chasing what you call your client. That's not, you don't own the client. You may have done a deal with them, but they are fair game for everybody else to call and solicit. So we built a thing in RealNext called a timeline, which is basically a workflow with a series of events, a repeatable process that you can apply to anything. So if it's your networking event follow-up plan, great. You say, I met Jeff at the conference, boom, plug it in, and I know that in 3 days I'm going to call, in a week I'm going to send a note, in a month I want to set a meeting, whatever it is. If it's a lease, I want to send them a market report. I want to put them on this list. I want to make sure I have lunch in a year, and in 18 months before the renewal, I'm contacting him to talk about, let's do a survey. So there's never, well, you cannot do it, but a system's going to tell you, here's what you should do Monday morning first thing. Here's your priority list for today because of what you did last year or 5 years ago that you're going to forget. You're going to forget this lease is coming up in 2 years if you don't have something to remind you. So listing extension reminders, client reports, the things that you need to do to make sure you're giving your client what you need, or your prospect what they need to convert them into a client. And it's simple workflow management, Jim. It's critical. And otherwise, the business of the day is going to get in the way of doing what you need to do to, and that's what I talk about, building a machine. You need to build a machine that turns your work into a science and not chance. So great question.
Jimmy, probably the best question of the day, right? Because the riches or the lack of them are in the follow-up, right? Like I could have an amazing call today with everybody on the panel. And if we don't connect offline and build great things together or do things, then that was the end of it. That's a bit different example. But if I run into a landlord or a business owner, or I'm having dinner at a restaurant and I start talking to an owner and be like, hey, how many locations? Oh, we've got 5. Well, do you want to get to 6 or 7? I've done this. And we exchange numbers. And if I don't call him the next day or the following week or set up the time, or even you and I, Jimmy, we've had lunch twice in the last 30 days, right? Which is, it's amazing. So, by the way, follow-up. I love the word follow-up. And this is going to be a side plug. Followup.com is actually being brokered by my domain brokerage. So if somebody wants to build an amazing CRM with a cool, that has automated follow-ups, purchase followup.com, because that's an amazing domain. But anyways, so what we do in-house for me, because there's no way, impossible. Like right now I'm on this call, 10 a.m. I'm volunteering at my daughter's school because the only thing I love more than real estate and business is my daughter. And so I'm probably going to have 30 minutes in between. And if I don't know, like Jeff mentioned, what to jump on, what's due, what's the next step. So one thing I do in our internal things, we use ClickUp, Enterprise. I know Zeb, the founder of ClickUp, we've been using it for years and we've built custom workflows, but everything, every task, every project, every listing has a next step date. It's a due date with the next step on it. Now my ops team, my support team, they know typically what's there. My notes get logged, but everything has a next step. There's no entry in our system that doesn't have an actionable date. It could be 4 years out, like on a lease renewal, and I want to throw this one out there. This is a gem for even technically my competitors, commercial brokers. If you're not tracking your lease renewals, I've had 2 people in a shopping center that I'm the exclusive broker on. They've been there 14 years. One of them, I think like 21 years, another one. And they didn't opt in to their option. You know how we have 10-year base plus 3 5-year options, something. They forgot to, their lease read that the tenant between 6 and 12 months prior to expiration of this term shall contact the owner or property manager and opt in. They didn't do it. So guess what happened? They were on the verge of being kicked out. Of course, I don't have crappy landlords that put people out of business, but they went from paying $237 a square foot to $350 a square foot because otherwise they'd be out of business. So as a broker, if you're not tracking your tenants' leases, now, I think Duke mentioned or somebody mentioned lease abstraction. We've got an internal workflow where I track that. I call it my lease management program, where I take a new client, even it's got 7 locations, a new restaurant I'm working with, and I'm like, send me all your leases. I will track it for you. And then 12 months in advance of expiration, I'm calling them. How's business? Is your location too small? Is your location too big? Should we look for a secondary location? Should I help you negotiate the renewal? You have no options left. Let's start talking to the landlord now. Do you want to buy? Let me get you an SBA loan, the riches are right there in that follow-up. So that was probably the one amazing question, because that's what it comes down to, right? You can layer technology on this, but what is the process? And follow-up is a big process.
Thank you. So I know we're coming up to the hour, and I just want to always share everyone's contact information, because I know it can go for a while. And so everyone knows Jeff Finch. So please, on LinkedIn, there will be information. Please connect with Jeff. You can learn more about what Jeff has done, the Provonus Group, everything else. Lots of experience and knowledge. Also, Michael, he has a course. It's still not, we still have time. So for those that want to sign up, please connect with them on LinkedIn. Here is still his course. And I'm sure you could get a discount or something. Michael could work that out. So take a picture, share it with friends. It's very important. Everyone starts at least educating themselves, knowing about this information with AI and just connecting with people. Duke, follow him on X. That's all I have to say, Duke.
I'm not selling anything, dude. I'm just hanging out.
I know you're not.
We got monies. We're good to go. Go look at our website and look at our companies. See if there's some tools you might want to use. They'd be
I
appreciative.
love that, Duke, but also you're the no nonsense. I would say a lot of things you're saying is not wrong. It's just some people don't
I'm
want to
never
hear it,
wrong.
which
I'm never
I
wrong.
love when you just say it. So follow Duke on X. I love that and watching and tracking. Thanks, Duke. Also, Jason, wealth of knowledge. If you want to automate your entire life, your kids' play dates, all of your kids' play dates, I don't know what else he's automated in his life. Please reach out to Jason. Fabulous guy, fun. And, you know, everyone here, they do more than real estate, family. They're a bunch of deal junkies and just great people. So again, I just want to help thank Duke, Jeff, Jason, Michael. Thank you again, being on the panel, sharing your knowledge. I hope everyone connects with everyone because that's the value. Not many people gets to have this type of speakers. You got to usually pay, show up at these events to catch up with them. But this is a chance for you to reach out using technology through LinkedIn to reach out and connect. So everyone have a great day. Thank you for showing up. Join us every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. PST time for Top Agent Nation Wednesday, commercial Wednesdays, and more to come. But follow and like it because you're going to see a lot more behind the scenes information where we're going to kind of give you flow charts and put other things in to really help everyone streamline their business. Everyone have a fabulous, great Wednesday. Thank you so much for showing up. Bye-bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Jimmy, thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone.